Get ready for a wild ride with the coolest crew in the animal kingdom. Meet Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and Private, the penguins with a plan. Whether they're facing off against evil villains or embarking on top-secret missions, these feathered friends always have a trick up their sleeve. It's action, comedy, and all-around chaos as the Penguins of Madagascar take you on an unforgettable adventure. Grab your popcorn. It's time for a mission like no other. Let the fun begin. Our movie begins in Antarctica with a large group of penguins that look very cute, where we see three little penguins. The first one is named Kowalski, the second is Rico, and the leader is Skipper. Skipper asks them to fly to reach the front of the line, but they are surprised that they cannot fly. And while they were talking, an egg hit them and rolled on the ice. Skipper decides to chase the egg, but the older penguins tell them that this happens all the time and that they don't try to save the egg because it poses a danger to them. They are just nice animals. Skipper feels frustrated and insists on saving the egg, so he skates on the ice behind it. Unintentionally, he collides with her and almost falls off the mountain, but Kowalski catches him. The egg rolls down the slope, becoming a snowball that flies through the air and reaches an abandoned ship without breaking. The sea lions appear trying to eat them, but the penguins jump off the cliff and roll on the ice to become another snowball. The ball flies through the air towards the ship, and Rico runs to grab the egg and swallow it before the seals attacking them can reach it. They try to escape from it and reach the hook, but a seal is chasing them and trying to catch up with them. Skipper pulls the rope that launches the arrow and sends them into the air, and when they reach the ice, Rico pulls out the egg. Because of what happened, the ship explodes, and Skipper realizes that the penguins are special and cannot live like the other ordinary penguins. The egg hatches, and a very small duckling comes out, asking them if they are its family. Skipper tells him that he doesn't have a family, but they will become his new family and will support him no matter what. Skipper encourages his friends and tells them that they will live a life full of adventures. Days pass, and we see the penguins after they have grown up, working in the circus. Skipper asks Private, the little penguin, to get ready, because they will be leaving the place and entering the cannon that will launch them into the air. Skipper tells Braithwaite that they will celebrate his 10th birthday by breaking into the United States Gold Depository. They sneak into the place and throw a small alarm at the guards to put them to sleep, then they enter through the door. They reach the vault, and Kowalski uses a jammer to open the door. When they see the gold, they rejoice, but in reality, they came for the Cheetos machine. Private asks Skipper to be an active and distinguished member of the team, but Skipper doesn't care and gives him some money to buy Cheetos. He thanks Private Skipper and goes to buy the Cheetos, but suddenly he disappears. When the penguins search for it, octopus tentacles appear and pull them into the machine. The octopus moves the machine, then escapes with it from the building. The plane carrying them flies, and the next morning, the plane arrives at a submarine where the machine is located, and the penguins find themselves in a cage. Rico pulls out a pin and unlocks the cage with it, but Private takes the pin and eats it to use it when needed. The penguins explore the place, and Private presses a button to descend. Then he presses another button, and a strange device emerges, but before he can turn it on, a strangely dressed man appears and tells them that his name is David, and that they are the reason for ruining his life. Then he suddenly transforms into an octopus. But the penguins didn't remember or even know who he was, so David got angry and told them that when he was young he lived in the same zoo they were in. He loved children, and they always admired his tricks. But one day, the penguins came to the park and took all the attention while he was put in a box and moved from one park to another because people didn't like him and thought the penguins were better than him. He decided to take revenge on all the penguins, and he shows them the serum he will use to achieve his goal. And Skipper tells him that they are not to blame, but David doesn't care and orders his friends to appear and surround the penguins. The penguins distract them with a ruse, and Rico eats the sample and escapes. They get on a boat, but the octopuses chase them, and the boat comes out of the water, allowing them to walk on land. The boat breaks, and they fall onto a motorcycle and run away. Then they fall to the ground again, but the ship is destroyed, and the penguins find themselves on a skateboard, which leads them to a dead end, surrounded by octopuses. Before he kills them, a seal appears and the octopus explodes. Another owl kidnaps and destroys a polar bear, and a plane arrives carrying a dog that tells them they belong to a secret organization, and they take them to a safe place. On the plane, Skipper asks the dog, named Norse Wind, about the organization, and Norse Wind replies that it is a secret organization aimed at saving animals from danger. Then, the organization's special team, consisting of the owl Eva, the bear, and the sea lion, is introduced to them. Skipper allows talking about their talented penguins and their team, which includes Rico and Private, who has become a fan of the owl Eva. They arrive at the organization's secret headquarters, which is a very advanced place, and the penguins are surprised by the advanced technology. Norse Wayne begins interrogating the penguins to gather information about David and his plan. Skipper tells Norse Wind that David is an octopus and that he can't execute his plan because they know how to deal with him. David speaks via video, threatening the penguins and showing them a huge amount of serum, assuring them that he will complete his plan no matter what. After the call, the penguins start disappearing from all the zoos. Norris Wayne and his team are getting ready to confront, while Skipper encourages the penguins to help them. Everyone boards the organization's private jets, but Rico takes a missile, and when he pulls it out of his mouth, it causes an explosion on the plane. Norris Wayne gets angry and hits them with a sedative, then puts them in a box and ships them on a plane heading to Madagascar. When the penguins come out of the box, they feel frustrated with the situation they have reached. The plane's skipper opens up, and they jump onto the boxes, discovering a balloon in one of the boxes. They blow Rico into the balloon, letting it land on the ground. They decide to return once again to save the penguins and stand against David. We see David and his followers kidnapping a group of penguins and flying away with them. And when they leave, the animals of the secret organization arrive and discover that the 4 penguins did not reach Madagascar and escaped from the plane. The penguins arrive in the city of Shanghai, and Skipper goes to hit a small octopus and asks him about David's whereabouts. But the octopus knows nothing. A news report appears on television about the disappearance of most of the world's penguins. Rico remembers something and takes out the ice crystals he had consumed when David had kidnapped them. Through these crystals, Skipper knows that David is heading to the penguins in the city of Shanghai, which is the same city they are in. The penguins disguise themselves as children's backpacks and enter the aquarium where the penguins are, waiting for David to appear, who is disguised as a diver. Skipper comes up with an idea to get rid of him, and he and his friends start executing the plan. Skipper goes to a fish skeleton and asks Private to wear a mermaid costume to distract everyone. Private succeeds in grabbing everyone's attention, while Rico launches himself and sticks to the glass, provoking the seal, which leads to the tank breaking and water spilling out, knocking everyone to the ground. The skeleton lands on David to trap him, and Norsen's plane arrives with his followers, who are surprised to find that the penguins have managed to capture David. Brayfit grabs one of the workers and returns to the pool where the penguins are. But when Norsen's followers try to catch David, they discover that he escaped through the pipes. David enters the penguin enclosure, captures everyone including Private, and then escapes with them. Skipper and his friends are chasing David with Norse Wind's private jet, pressing the buttons until the plane takes off into the sky. But the plane suddenly crashes, and they catch up with it at the last moment. During the flight, Norsen's followers use their weapon to launch a rope that attaches to the plane, while they follow it in a boat. The skipper orders Rico to lighten the plane's weight, so Rico opens the door and starts throwing things out of the plane to speed it up. Things are falling on Norsen, which hinders their boat and makes the plane fly faster. By mistake, Rico presses the plane's self-destruct button, causing the plane to explode at the last moment, and David escapes with his friends while the penguins remain in chaos. When Skipper wakes up, he discovers that he and his friends are with Norsen and his followers on a raft, and Norsen starts blaming Skipper harshly for destroying their plane and being the reason for David's escape. The bear intervenes and tells them they have arrived at the island that contains David's headquarters. Skipper asks how they managed to find the island's location, and Norsen replies that they planted tracking devices in each one of them. We see Private and the rest of the kidnapped penguins in cages inside the submarine. David appears and starts to scare them, saying he won't kill them because his serum doesn't work that way. The serum is tested on a small grasshopper, and the animal turns into a terrifying monster. It grabs Private and threatens him, saying that his friends will not abandon him and will come to rescue him. The penguins, Norsen, and his followers arrive at the island and begin monitoring the submarine from a distance. Skipper explains his plan to his friends, which involves infiltrating the submarine and rescuing the penguins from David. But Norsen mocks him and doesn't like this suggestion. He decides to use a visual effects device and explains his special plan to them, which relies on using penguins to distract the guards, while he and the rest of his team sneak into the submarine to capture David and rescue the penguins. After Norsen turns off the visual effects device and praises his followers, his senior assistants feel jealous because his plan is better than Skipper's, yet they mock him. Norsen accuses Skipper of being the reason behind the kidnapping of his friend Private, which makes Skipper feel sad. Skipper decides to implement Norsen's plan to save Private, but his assistants oppose him and encourage him to execute his own plan. Skipper apologizes to them and decides that he is not the leader of this mission. Rather, Norsen is in charge, and they proceed with Norsen's plan. They all disguise themselves in strange outfits and deceive David's assistants to lead them inside the submarine, where they destroy the doors and sneak through the walls to reach David's location, who had set a trap for them. Skipper and his friends were trying to escape from the octopuses, which were watching them from behind. Norsen and his followers reached the submarine but were surprised to find that the octopuses were capturing them, and they were all imprisoned. The octopuses reach Skipper and his friends and take them to David, who welcomes them and tells them that he will turn all the penguins into monsters, then take them to New York City to make humans hate them. He shows them the private, who was tied up somewhere, while David operates the device containing the serum. Skipper asks Rico to take out the clip to open the cage, but the clip isn't with him, and at that moment, Private remembers that he had swallowed the clip. He tries to get him out, but to no avail. David decides to press the device's power button, and a laser is fired that is supposed to kill Private. Skipper and Kowalski are deeply saddened by the death of Private. But in reality, Private is alive because he managed to open the cage using a paperclip and escape without anyone noticing. He sneaks into the place where Norsen and his followers are held and offers a bribe to the octopus. But he discovers that the octopus has activated a destructive machine that threatens all their lives. All the devices stop, and everyone returns to their places thanks to Skipper, who managed to hit the octopus and save them. Then he frees them and asks them to go with him to rescue their friends. But Norsen and his followers refuse and decide to escape from the submarine to bring reinforcements and return to attack again. Skipper asks them how long it will take for them to return, explaining that David will execute his plan while they are on their way to bring reinforcements, which will cause the penguins to turn into monsters. But he adds that Skipper wouldn't mind going to get reinforcements because he wouldn't leave any of his friends behind. Norsen and his followers refuse to help him because they are scared, so they decide to leave the submarine and leave Skipper alone. We see Skipper, Kowalski, and the rest of the penguins in one place, where David appears disguised as a human to start executing his plan. The submarine arrives in New York City, where people are waiting for the return of the penguins based on David's promise to them that he would save them. The submarine emerges from the water and settles on the ground, and at the same time, Private arrives at the place where his penguin friends are being held. He calls out to them, but no one answers. David is operating the transformation device, which turns penguins into terrifying monsters, and they emerge in a frightening form that instills fear in people. Everyone runs away in panic, while the penguins chase them and spread chaos in the place. Insect extermination vehicles arrive, trying to capture and confine the penguins. Private steals the laser device from the submarine and goes out with it to try to help them. He disguises himself as one of the monsters and sneaks inside the place to look for Skipper. He finds Skipper eating a cat, so he approaches him and talks to him, reminding him of himself. Skipper, as he regains his memory, remembers Private when he was young, and he rejoices at seeing him and hugs him happily because he is still alive. Skipper takes out the cat he had eaten and goes to Kowalski, who returns to his normal self when he sees Private and hugs him. Similarly, the rest of the team return to their usual selves and celebrate Private's return. Private reveals to them the device he stole from the submarine and explains that if they reverse the beam's effect, all the penguins will return to their normal state. Kowalski says they need a very nice power source to accomplish that. Private enters the device and discovers that he himself is the power source, but Skipper tries to stop him. A malfunction occurs when the remote falls, causing the penguins to return to their normal state. Private appears with a hand growing from his back. Skipper asks Private to get out of the device because it poses a danger, but Private refuses, insisting that they need his help to save the rest of the penguins. Skipper is moved by his words and decides to go ahead with the plan, asking Rico to attach the ice crystals to the device to reduce the beam's power. But David sees them, returns to his normal form, and orders his followers to attack them. Skipper is trying to turn on the device, but unfortunately, it doesn't work because the remote batteries are dead. Private asks Rico to go buy batteries, while Skipper and the octopus crew face those trying to prevent them from reaching the device. Rico continues to choose between a bag of Cheetos and buying batteries, when a car driven by Norsen and his followers appears, shocking the octopuses. They enter the submarine and are flipped in a massive explosion. Rico returns carrying the batteries and hands them to Skipper, who puts them in the remote. Before he can press the button, David attacks him and knocks the remote out of his hand. But Rico pulls out a bag of Cheetos and hands it to Skipper, who presses it, causing a Cheeto to hit the button, activating the device. The device explodes and releases a massive amount of energy, restoring the penguins to their natural state. While Skipper and his friends run to check on Private, they are shocked when they see his form change and turn to stone. The stone shatters, and Private emerges from it, but in his new form with horns. Everyone is happy about his return, and Skipper sends them an emotional message that appearance is not important. But what they do is, the ground shakes and David appears in the form of a massive giant threatening them, but they are surprised when they find him trapped in a small ice crystal and a child takes him to play with. Norsen and his followers thank Skipper and his friends for saving the penguins, and they give them propeller planes as a gift. In the end, Kowalski uses gentle energy to operate the device, and Private returns to his normal shape. This is the end. See you soon. Bye.